Very welcome to another production of What's the Story, Father? The video site where we ask you to pose a question and we offer you an answer. Last week I got an interesting question from Fergal. Fergal asked a question that caught my imagination. He asked, what was the difference between religion and spirituality? The reason why I was intrigued by the question is I have heard that statement made so often. I'm fairly sure that some of you have at least said at some stage, I'm spiritual but not religious. And if you haven't said it yourself, you surely maybe have heard someone else say it. Well, Fergal, that was a very good question because it's a statement that I've heard so often by so many people. Now, I'd like to begin answering that question by saying that fundamentally there is no difference between spirituality and religion. In fact, spirituality and religion are two sides of the one coin. Now, spirituality in its purest form is an individual, a personal relationship with God, an intricate relationship between you and the Creator, in which you form your opinions, your belief system is nurtured, and your view on life is expounded upon. So in a sense, it is that inner personal relationship between you and God. Religion, the other side of that coin, is, if you like, the outward expression of that spiritual conviction. That what you believe from your spiritual conviction and beliefs and relationship with God finds an expression in religion. So your religious practice is your prayer life. You're part of a believing community. How you treat others. How you observe what you believe. Now, for us as Christians, we are first have to have a relationship with God, but then it has to be shared. And this is what religion is. It is the outward expression of that inward conviction. So your attendance at the ceremonies of the church, your prayer life with the people of God, sharing your spiritual life. So there is no contradiction between spirituality and religion. Although the way people use it, it seems that people think there is an experience or difference. You often hear the phrase, I'm all for God, but not for the church. You can't have one without the other. For an authentic Christian, they must have, or should have, and need to have a deep spiritual encounter with God, a deep spiritual conviction. But then it can't stop there. It has to have an expression, because an encounter with God can never stop just there. It has to be shared. Like all good news, it has to be shared. Imagine you won the lotto. What was the first thing you'd do? Would you put the ticket down and go to bed and tell nobody? I suspect maybe you'd pick up the phone, you ring your friends, you'd gather them around you and say, look I've won, I've great news, and share the joy. And that's what religion is. It's the outward sharing of that inward conviction. You have to have both. You have to have the spiritual element and the religious element. If we just simply become spiritual people and say, well, I'm a spiritual person, there is the tendency and the danger somehow we become, it's between me and God. And that can lead to some sort of selfishness or a reluctance to embrace what that means. To simply say, I believe in God, but not to put it into practice. On the other hand, if we simply observe religious practices and rituals, they become staid and cold and lifeless and don't give what they're meant to give. They don't give us a deeper encounter with God in the community sense or with other people. And so, to go back to my original point, that there is no contradiction between spirituality and religion. They are both sides of the one coin. We must have an interior spiritual life. But that interior spiritual life must be expressed in our outward actions, in our outward living of our faith. gathering, worshipping, living, and celebrating. And so, as I said at the beginning, it's a great question. And people sometimes imagine that there's a conflict. You can be one or the other. But for the church, you need to be both. You need to be spiritual, have a relationship with God, but you need to express that conviction in the religious sense. And so until the next time we meet, take it handy, God bless, and take care of yourself.